Hello, everybody, and thanks very much for all of your support with my videos. I'm very, very grateful, and thanks to everybody who kindly supports my work through Buy Me a Coffee. Links will be in the platform at the end of this video. And also, please press subscribe and share my videos as well because you get notified when my videos would come up on YouTube. So, today I want to speak about the cost of living disaster and, in particular, focus in on one part of it. The massive part of it is the energy crisis, and it's hugely important to note that since the privatisation of the electricity in Ireland as well, we've seen extortionate increases in people's energy bills. Before privatisation, we had the lowest prices in Europe. Now, today, we have amongst the highest prices in Europe. So, how has that privatisation and market worked? It's actually failed completely. It served the interests of big businesses, corporations, and this is who the political establishment in Ireland continually work for. They don't serve the interests of ordinary people. They're more interested in bowing down to the directives in Brussels and the interests of big business and the neoliberal consensus rather than pushing the needs of ordinary people. We've seen thousands upon thousands of people that die because of fuel poverty every year, and particularly elderly people now who are going to be struggling coming into the winter, afraid to put their heating on. People who spend their times in shopping centres just to pass the day, to stay warm, go to bed earlier at night. There's horrific cases that I'm fully aware of and know a lot of people in those circumstances as well, which is absolutely dreadful in a country, to be frank about it. There is this extreme amount of wealth where two billionaires have the same amount of wealth as 50% of the population. This is criminal when you consider the privatisation of the energy business in Ireland, similar to what I've spoken about before in a previous video about the waste management industry. It's interesting because the regulator during the week has stated that they will be increasing the standing charges by €100 per year, €8.41 per month, on top of the extortionate standing charges that are currently there. The standing charges currently are about €50 per month on anybody's bill, and this is going to be an increase. And the reason for the increase is due to the unprecedented demand in use of electricity. Now, what's this down to? This is down to a number of facets. This is down to one, probably underinvestment in the grid for many, many years. That's undoubted because Irish infrastructure is so poor. We are all fully aware of that. But when it facilitates big business, there's always ways to work around it. But a more stark and realistic reason behind the increase in demand for the grid has been the data centres. Huge multinationals have come in, exhausted many of our resources, profiting from a low tax regime here in Ireland, making huge profits. Yesterday there was reports that a multinational in Tullamore has closed, the US multinational, reaped huge dividends in the last year, but then decided to close, and 300 jobs are gone in a town of 15,000 people, Tullamore. This is how beholden we are to the big multinationals, rather than looking after the needs of ordinary people here in Ireland and supporting industries that support the needs of ordinary people and gives long-term employment to people in all of our communities all around Ireland as well. Now, it is very important to note as well the increase in demand for this as well. As I said, through data centres, recently during the week, Google were denied an extension on their site in Grange Castle in South County Dublin by a number of the local authorities, South Dublin County Council, because of the pressure on the grid. And also we've seen the explosion and increase in our population growth as well, which is going to put huge pressure on the grid also as well moving forward. So again, we've seen extortionate prices, extortionate profits here and going on at one end with these companies as well. And as well, again, who the political establishment represent and serve every single time. Big business. Already since the facet and onset of the war in Ukraine, we've seen the sanctions impact the prices as well across Europe. We've seen the explosion of the Nord Stream in Europe as well, the mysterious explosion of the Nord Stream that nobody wants to talk about in the Western media, but it's very important to note that the impacts that this has had on the supply that currently comes into across Europe, and it knock-on effect on the island of Ireland as well. And it is very important to note in terms of the Irish government's response, instead of pushing for peace, which is what we should be doing as a neutral country, they're bowing down to the European elites, time and time again, trying to sidle up to the warmongers rather than demanding peace. The European project was started as a peace project, not a project that was moving towards militarism as an empire or moving towards more war. And it's also interesting because this energy market has been a fully signed up part of this, the whole neoliberal agenda, through European Union directives, where they created an artificial market and subsidised these big providers, and not to mention the big companies, the service providers now making huge profits from this as well. If it was a real market, you would have 50 extension leads coming into each and every one of our houses or homes, because it's not a real energy market. They made an artificial market, and it's absolutely just criminal what's going on, because essentially what they do is it's the highest price that wins in the wholesale market when the bidding starts, and then that's knocked on then towards the service providers again to make their huge profits from it as well. And many of these shareholders of the service providers are also involved in the origination of the energy business as well. So they're profiting at all ends from the energy crisis. So it's completely contrived. It's not a real market, but it shows you the fallacy and the criminality behind the policies of the Irish government, who facilitate big business time after time again. And it needs to be disclosed, because essentially what's happening is ordinary people are being forced over the edge. Ordinary people will be forced to subsidise again through the extension of the grid to support big business, support the increase in population, support all these other things that they're told to support, and ordinary people will pick up the tab. There's also a public service obligation on people also every year to subsidise the move towards solar and wind farms as well, which is estimated about 40 to 50 euro per year. And not to mention the high prices we have as well. But of course, the narrative that's going to come over from the media over the next period of time is going to be a couple of facets. Now, it's going to be clear to watch out for this, because this is going to be just so revealing. They're going to say switch. Now, when they say switch, you might think you might say €5 here, but in the long term, you don't, because they still win. It's like the way the house always wins. If you go to a casino or somewhere else, they always win. It's a complete ruse. It's just trying to switch for maybe a number of months, and then before you know it, you're back to square one. You're back with higher bills as well. And the second facet of this, which is important, is the energy subsidy, or energy that they're trying to give again. And that again is more public money, which is saddled onto our debt, which impacts our public and social services, which comes from the public wealth, and that gets transferred into the hands of these service providers, and the knock-on effect is profits again for these service providers. Many of these companies, we all know them in Ireland, who are making huge profits from what's going on, and not to mention people who are struggling day to day and have to use prepay energy as well, because they're struggling to pay a bill. When a bill comes in at €300-400, they rather pay as they go. But again, there's extortionate charges being put on them as well. And many of those companies have their tax regimes and locations and bases outside Ireland for tax reasons. So they profit time and time again while ordinary people suffer. What needs to happen is that energy needs to be brought back into public hands. It's a basic social good, a social need to have right to home and proper electricity. And you pay a fair rate for that. That's maintained properly, and a grid that serves the needs of ordinary people and businesses as well, who are struggling to get by as well. Not the big multinationals, not the huge data centres, not the people who come in and try and extort huge profits and pay next to no tax on their huge profits, all facilitated by the Irish government. We need to put the needs and interests of the people of Ireland first, and that includes using the resources of the country to serve the needs of people and have a proper energy system, rather than selling off a lot of resources, which we've done, and many times we've seen it with the Corrib gas field. We've seen it with many more gas fields as well being sold off, and other energy resources being sold off because of the whole neoliberal project in the European Union, which serves the interests of big corporations. When the veil is pulled back, who's pulling the strings behind the scenes? It's the big corporations who lobby, who put forward all the legislation, and then become directives, and then they're imposed into law in Ireland, and then we follow suit because we have a complicit political establishment who aren't willing to tell the truth about the whole energy crisis, aren't telling the truth about what's really going on, and aren't telling the truth about who profits and who they really serve. So when they claim they're your interests at heart, think again. So thanks for all the support on my videos. I'm really grateful. Thanks for all the likes, shares, comments. And I'm very grateful. If any ideas you have for videos or want me to talk about various things, I'd be glad to discuss those issues as well. So again, very grateful for your support. Please press subscribe. Take care. Salam. See you all soon. Bye bye.